Hello and welcome to KJHK's 12 for 12, 12 sports topics in 12 minutes. Let's hit it. Kansas City Royals are our first topic for today. And boy, it's been a little bit of a different scenario this year. Last year, the 2015 World Champions. This year, high expectations to get back to that spot, but no moves at the trade deadline, and a couple injuries with Alex Gordon and Mike Moustakas has plagued them as well. Right now, 77 and 73 right now in the division. They're 9.5 games back of Cleveland. Who would have thought it? I guess it's Cleveland's year. In the wild card, they're 4.5 games out. So right now, the Royals, kind of a slim chance. They've thrown a lot of new guys in there, especially in their bullpen. Newer guys, Whit Merrifield, Cheslor Cuthbert, and a couple other guys have platooned on the infield. Hunter Dozier recently was called up, a big prospect for them, and he's seen some playing time. So right now, a lot of guys seeing playing time that haven't normally been up there in the bigs. We'll see where they go from here, but right now, they need to rebuild.
After 2 years of retirement and some time spent in the broadcast booth, Landon Donovan returned to the field against Sporting Kansas City on Sunday. He equalized in the 74th minute after Dom Dwyer made it 2-1 for Sporting Kansas City. After Donovan's goal, Sporting Kansas City fans chanted AARP, but after the game, Donovan said he's got a few more years left in him. This makes me think, will sporting greats such as Peyton Manning or Kobe Bryant ever return back to the field? Who's to say? But Donovan is going to help the LA Galaxy, who are in second place in the Western Conference and are looking strong for the playoffs, whereas Sporting KC is in the 6th spot in the Western Conference and the last playoff spot. So we'll see what Donovan can provide for the Galaxy as they make their playoff run. Other teams to note for the MLS playoffs are the New York City FC, who Frank Lampard was injured but should be able to return for the playoffs.
After an 0-12 season in David Beatty's first campaign as the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks football team, Kansas came out firing in their first game against Rhode Island, getting an impressive victory. In their second game, they came out flat against Ohio, ending up losing by a good margin in the fourth quarter. In Kansas's third game, trying to end a 7-year road losing streak, Kansas came out flat again, going down 19-0 to Memphis. Late in the first half, with Kansas trailing 26-7, they recorded a sack, and then on the next play, Memphis muffed a punt. With the opportunity to seize momentum, Montel Cozart threw a pick six on the very first play, and Memphis ended up taking a 33-7 lead into the half. In the second half, Kansas really didn't get anything going on offense, and the final score ended up being 43-7. In such a lopsided victory, you would expect the yardage to be very one-sided. That was not the case, however. Kansas was only outgained 314 to 394.
Luckily, the football team's bye week will give fans an opportunity to watch something that's fun rather than 3 hours of sadness, as a different set of Jayhawks will be part of a primetime matchup. KU's volleyball team will take on the Texas Longhorns at Gregory Gymnasium in Austin, Texas. This will be a crucial game between the two teams that made the Final Four last year. 2 of KU's 3 losses came at the hands of the Longhorns. Third was against eventual national champion Nebraska, and Nebraska went on to win the national championship against Texas. Texas got a rematch against the Huskers early in the season, but it was another loss to the #1 ranked team in the country. Since then, both the Longhorns and the Jayhawks have defeated team after team until both lost in 5-set heartbreakers this last week against top 25 foes. The Jayhawks to 14th ranked Purdue, Longhorns to 6th ranked Wisconsin. The loser of this matchup may potentially fall out of the top 10 of the AVCA's Division I coaches poll. KU is currently 10-1, Texas 8-2.
It's been a great year for golf on the tour. 4 guys all winning their first major this year. And boy, the season is winding down. One more tournament, and it's going to be at East Lake, and the winner takes home a pretty hefty amount, $10 million for the FedEx Cup champion. This will be the 10th year that the FedEx Cup has been in the PGA. Right now, 5 guys realistically up there to win it. All they would have to do is win this tournament. It's a par 70 at East Lake, so 70 even par there. Some guys have played it really well before in the past. Dustin Johnson, probably the likely favorite, him as well as Jason Day. They're both very familiar with this course, so they're probably the favorites right now, but besides them, Patrick Reed, Adam Scott, or Paul Casey, any of them could come away with a win. And if the cards are played right, hey, last year's winner, Jordan Spieth, might be the winner again this year. So we'll see where the cards fall, but right now, Dustin Johnson and Jason Day are likely to be the guys up there for that $10 million purse.
After coming back from 24-3 last week against the Chargers, the Chiefs lost 19-12 to Houston this week. Alex Smith only threw for 186 yards, a far cry from the over 300 yards he put up in overtime against the Chargers. The Chiefs also struggled on offense mightily. They turned the ball over 3 times, all fumbles within the first half, even though on defense the Chiefs did have 2 interceptions against Brock Osweiler. The next game for the Chiefs is at home against the Jets, and they will try and rebound. But after this week, the Chiefs only had 119 rushing yards, so Andy Reid's going to have to see how the offense can mesh together again. And obviously the Chiefs have been known to have comebacks in the past. Last season, they rattled off 10 straight wins after starting out 0-5. So we're going to have to see how they'll fare against the Jets this coming Sunday, who are also 1-1, as the Chiefs are as well. And so Alex Smith, can he turn it around this week?
As we've seen in the last couple of years of baseball, any team that makes the postseason has a chance to win it all, from runs from the San Francisco Giants and the Kansas City Royals out of the wild card spot. The American League wildcard race has been tight basically the entire second half of the season, with up to 7 teams involved. As we currently sit, we have Baltimore with a 1-game lead on the first wildcard spot, with Toronto 1 game behind them. Also giving chase, we have Detroit with 2 games behind, Seattle with 2 games behind, and Houston with 3 games behind. This week, you'll see the Toronto Blue Jays have series with Seattle and New York, Baltimore play Boston and Arizona, Houston with Oakland and LA, and Detroit with Minnesota and the Kansas City Royals. On the NL side of things, it's a lot less complicated, with only 3 teams vying for 2 spots: the New York Mets, San Francisco Giants, and the St. Louis Cardinals. New York has series against the Braves and the Phillies. San Francisco has series against the Dodgers and the Padres. And St. Louis has series against the Rockies and the Cubs.
Maybe we turned on Sam Bradford too fast, or at least too hard. Hearing the discussion of the Bradford trade to the Vikings, you would think the 28-year-old signal caller was 2009 Jake Delhomme. But sure, it's ridiculous that Bradford is a $100 million man. It's ridiculous that the Rams and the Eagles made out like bandits trading him off after he tore through fewer defenses than ACLs during his time in the league. But people talk about Bradford like they wouldn't trade him for a wasabi ice cream cone. Should the Vikings have sacrificed a first-round pick for him? No, but the trade is done, and now it's about how he performs. In his first game, despite Adrian Peterson going down in the third quarter and the team only having 30 rushing yards, Bradford completed 70% of his passes, scored 2 touchdowns, and outdueled Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, winning 17-14 in the Vikings' new USA Bank Stadium. I don't expect him to do this every week, and Bradford will never live up to his value 3 different franchises assigned to him. But now his job is to give the Vikings a competent quarterback. None of his injuries have taken that away from him. Not yet, anyway.
Strap in, put the pedal to the metal, and turn left. But this time, we're not talking about burning rubber on the NASCAR track. We're talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has meant so much to NASCAR. He's been the most popular driver in the last 13 seasons, 26 career Sprint Cup wins, but he's been sidelined for those concussion symptoms. We know how the concussion symptoms have plagued football players, but right now Dale Earnhardt Jr. is still sidelined. The doctors just don't think that he's ready yet. He's having some balance issues, and he certainly doesn't want to risk injuring himself or another driver. So his return this season, not very likely, which is sad to see, and some people are questioning his retirement. We could see him next year, though. He is 42 years old right now, but as of right now, it's kind of iffy. It's really up to him, and he has his concerns. A lot of other people have their concerns as well. We'll see where that number 88 car ends up.
Let's throw it across the pond and check out this week's Premier League standings. After this weekend, the top 7 are all major teams and are as follows. We have Man City in first, Everton in second, Tottenham Hotspur in third, Arsenal rounds out 4th spot, Chelsea in 5th, Liverpool in 6th, and Manchester United is in 7th. Manchester City beat Bournemouth 4-0, and Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling both scored in that game. Man U was shocked 3-1 by Watford, and Jose Mourinho feels that the pressure from the media is infecting his players a lot, and he's trying to get them to play better and more cohesive unit. We'll see how they can do against Leicester City next week. Liverpool grabbed a stellar win against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and Jordan Henderson scored an incredible goal. We'll see next week if Arsenal can beat Chelsea as well.
Arguably the most notable individual award in all of sports is the Heisman Trophy, given to the most outstanding college football player at the end of every season. Last season, we saw Derrick Henry from Alabama break up the streak of 5 straight quarterback winning the Heisman. This year, I want to take a look at my 3 favorite candidates through the first 3 weeks of the college football season. To start off, you have to talk about Lamar Jackson, the quarterback from Louisville. Busting onto the scene this year, he's already thrown for 913 yards passing and 8 touchdowns, and 464 yards rushing with 10 touchdowns. Very dynamic quarterback who's drawing comparisons to Michael Vick. Out west, you have to take a look at Christian McCaffrey, who had a stellar sophomore season and is looking to build on it this year in his junior season. Although he's only played 2 games, he's already racked up 4 touchdowns and averaged 5.6 yards per carry. The last guy I want to take a look at is the Clemson quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Although Clemson has looked shaky in their first 3 games, you always got to keep an eye on the quarterback of a top 5 ranked team.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, the judge, the jury, and the poor executioner. Goodell's erratic use of absolute authority in punishing bounty programs, domestic abusers, and ball deflators has made him the joke of the NFL. Who else could get accused of giving too harsh a penalty for Ray Rice's domestic violence incident? But with one specific policy, Roger could flip that entire perception. Remove marijuana from the banned substance list. Countless ex-players, including former Ravens lineman Eugene Monroe, have begun to advocate for the medicinal use of marijuana as an alternative to players taking opioid painkillers. Football is a brutal sport, and by continuing to suspend players for using marijuana, the NFL leaves players no choice but to use addictive drugs to deal with pain. Marijuana will eventually be legal. It will happen. The federal government will eventually remove marijuana's Schedule I drug status. Only then will the NFL start to investigate marijuana's medical benefits. But that's too little and too late, and Roger Goodell will miss the best opportunity to fix his tarnished legacy.
Thank you for tuning in for 12 for 12, and we'll see you next time.